Chosen one, before this message reaches you, something has already been decided. Not by the world, not by anyone who has a voice in your everyday life. By the one who holds your entire timeline in his hands. And what he decided will sound, at first, like the worst possible news. He cancelled everything. Every arrangement that was about to arrive on the terms you were expecting, he stopped it. Every door that was scheduled to open in the direction you were leaning, he sealed it. Every opportunity that seemed like the answer to the prayer you have been praying for months, he pulled it back. And I know how that feels. Because the cancellation did not come with an explanation. It came with silence. But what I am about to tell you over the course of this message is something that changes the meaning of every closed door you have encountered in the last 6 months. God did not cancel those things because you failed. He cancelled them because of what he decided to do for you instead. And what he decided is so far beyond the scope of what those arrangements would have delivered that they had to be removed so the greater thing could land. And before this message ends, I am going to give you a Hebrew word that will redefine everything you thought you knew about waiting. It is not a word for delay. It is a word for what you have been becoming while you waited. Hold space for it. If something in your spirit just recognized that if your body responded before your mind caught up, then you are exactly who this message was recorded for. Type the words, "He cancelled for me," in the comments right now. Not because it is easy to believe, because something in you already knows it is true. I want to speak to you now in a voice that is not mine, because there is something God himself wants you to hear. And what follows is the message he has placed over your life at this exact moment. My child, I know you are confused. I know you looked at the last several months and thought I had forgotten you. You watched others receive what you had been praying for longer. You saw doors open for people who started after you. And the thought that entered your mind was not anger, it was something quieter. It was the thought that maybe you are not included in what I am doing. I need you to hear me clearly. You are not excluded. You are being redirected. And the redirection required me to cancel what was coming, because what was coming was too small for what I have prepared. You asked me for provision. I am bringing you inheritance. You asked me for relief. I am bringing you restoration. You asked me for a door. I am bringing you a territory. And the reason the provision, the relief, and the door had to be cancelled is because they would have satisfied you at a level that was beneath what I designed you to carry. There is also something I want to say about the distinction between what I was about to send and what is now coming. You asked for comfort level provision. What I have prepared is calling level provision, and comfort level provision would have funded your current life. Calling level provision funds the assignment I have written over you. These are not the same. That distinction is going to change the way you understand every cancellation before this moment. There is something I need to name for you, a pattern that has been operating in your life that you have mistaken for failure. Every time something was about to arrive and then suddenly vanished, you believed the enemy stole it. You believed your faith was not strong enough. You believed the timing was wrong. But none of those explanations are accurate. What actually happened is something I want to call the divine cancellation protocol. This is not punishment. This is not delay. This is a specific action I take when the thing approaching, my chosen one, is real but insufficient. When the blessing is genuine but the scope is wrong. When the door is open but it leads to a room that is too small for the assignment I have written over your life. I do not let you settle for what is beneath you. Even when you are willing to settle, even when you are begging me to let you settle, I cancel it, because I love you too much to let you build a life inside something that would eventually become your ceiling. Let me show you how this has played out in your life. Think about the job you almost got 2 years ago, the one you prayed for, the one you prepared for, the one that seemed perfect, and then it fell through in the final stage for reasons that made no sense. You grieved that. You questioned me. You wondered what you did wrong. But if that job had come through, you would be locked into a contract right now that prevents you from being available for what I am about to release. You would have financial stability, yes, but you would have traded capacity for comfort. And what I am bringing you requires the full width of your capacity. That job was not stolen. It was cancelled by me, for you. Now think about the relationship that ended, the one that felt like the answer, the one that made you feel seen for the first time in years. And then it dissolved, quietly, without a dramatic event, without a villain. It just stopped. And you carried that confusion in your chest for months. But if that relationship had continued, you would be carrying the emotional weight of someone else right now, at the exact moment I need you unburdened. Not because that person was bad, because the timing was designed for a different configuration of your heart. I cancelled that relationship because I saw what was coming next. And what is coming next requires a version of you that is not tethered to something that would have divided your attention at the most critical season of your life. And here is the part that most messages like this never tell you. The cancellation is not the end of the story, it is the setup. Every single thing I removed was removed to create space. And the space itself has a purpose. The space is where the greater thing lands. You have been living in the space, and because the space feels empty, you have been calling it abandonment. But the space is not abandonment. The space is preparation. I cleared the field not because I forgot to plant. I cleared the field because what I am planting requires clean soil. And the things I cancelled were growing in the soil where the new seed needs to go. Chosen one. There is a second pattern I want to name, because the cancellation created something inside you that I did not intend, and I want to address it directly. When I cancelled the job, the relationship, the opportunity, something happened in your nervous system that you are not fully aware of. Your body began to interpret divine cancellation as personal rejection. Every time something fell through, your chest tightened a little more. Your shoulders pulled forward a little more. Your breathing became a little shallower. And over time, a belief formed in your body, not in your mind, in your body, that said, you are the kind of person things do not work out for. I want to name this. What formed in you is something called the rejection imprint. The rejection imprint is not a thought. It is a physical pattern stored in your nervous system that makes you flinch before anything good arrives. It makes you prepare for loss before loss is even possible. It makes you hold back your full excitement when something is offered to you because your body has learned that excitement is followed by removal. The imprint did not form because you were faithless. It formed because a system of protection perfectly designed for your formation season kept running past its expiration. Every cancellation was my love in action, but your nervous system recorded each one as rejection, and the mismatch between my intention and your body's interpretation is what produced the flinch. I did not create the rejection imprint. The cancellations were mine. The imprint was the result of a protective response misreading a loving act. That is not who you are. That is what happened to you when a divine protection was misread by your nervous system as divine punishment. And today, right now, as you hear these words, I am asking you to let the imprint dissolve. Not because you are strong enough to dissolve it, because the truth dissolves it. And the truth is that every cancellation was an act of love. You are not the person things do not work out for. You are the person things are being rearranged for. There is a difference, and the difference is not small. If that distinction just landed somewhere deep inside you, if you felt something unlock in your chest or behind your eyes, type the words, "I am rearranged for," in the comments. Because naming what is happening in your body right now is how you break the pattern. Now let me take you to what happens when the rejection imprint begins to dissolve. Picture a morning 6 months from now. You wake up before the alarm, not because you are anxious, because something in your body is ready. You lie there for a moment and notice something different. The tightness that used to sit in your stomach every morning is not there. The low hum of dread that accompanied the first 5 minutes of every day has been replaced by something quieter. Expectation. Not the anxious kind, the grounded kind. The kind that comes when a person knows deeply that what is arriving is good. And somewhere in that morning, a memory surfaces. Not painful, just clear. A memory of a morning from 3 years ago when you lay in the same bed and wondered if God still remembered your name. And you will smile. Not because you were wrong to wonder, but because you now know exactly what the silence was building. That version of you is not fantasy. That version of you is the designed outcome of everything God is doing right now. The gap between where you are now and where that morning exists is not time. It is the dissolution of the imprint. I know there is a part of you listening right now that wants to believe this, but is not sure it can. The part that has heard beautiful things before and watched them not materialize. The part that has been careful with hope, because hope, when it is placed on the wrong thing, becomes the sharpest kind of pain. But survival is not the same as living. And what God is calling you into now is not survival. It is the full, unguarded, open-chested reception of everything He has arranged for your next season. And this is the third thing I want to name, because there is a mechanism that keeps the chest clenched even when the person wants to open it. And it sits in the place where the rejection imprint lives, but operates at a different level. The rejection imprint lives in the body, but there is a second mechanism that forms in response to the imprint, a mechanism that lives not in the muscles, but in the receiver itself. I call it the guarded receiver. The guarded receiver is the state your nervous system enters when it has experienced too many cancellations without understanding why they happened. Your body creates a filter, and the filter does something very specific. It lets in information, but it blocks reception. You can hear the promise. You can understand the promise. You can even agree with the promise, but you cannot feel it land. There is a gap between hearing and receiving, and the gap is not faith. The gap is neurological. It lives in the body, not in the belief system. You have experienced this. You have sat in prayer and felt nothing, not because the prayer was empty, but because the receiver was guarded. You have read scripture and understood every word but felt no shift, not because the word was powerless, but because your body was filtering it. You have stood in worship and watched others weep while you felt nothing, and you blamed yourself for the distance. But the distance is not a spiritual problem. It is a design problem. The receiver, the neurological apparatus through which your brain processes divine communication, has been gradually narrowing, not because you did something wrong, because the modern pattern of living has been slowly closing down the part of you that was built to receive. Now, I want to pause here and hold something in front of you before I continue. Over the past few years, something has been discovered in research laboratories that most people who care about the things we have been discussing have never been told about. Not because it contradicts what is sacred, because it came from a direction most of us are not watching. A small group of neuroscientists, led by a doctor in New York who has spent 20 years studying this, found something about the way the human brain is designed to operate that explains something most spiritually sensitive people have felt but have never been able to name. Something so fundamental it traces back to a Nobel Prize, yet so simple in its application that it sounds almost suspicious at first. I am going to tell you what they found later in this message, but right now, hold this one question. What if the reason you cannot feel what God is saying is not a faith problem, but a receiver problem? And what if the receiver is restorable? Hold that question, let it sit, because everything I am about to say next will give it shape. My child, I want to return to the voice that has been speaking over you. There is something about the season that is about to open that I want you to hear in specific terms. The season has 3 characteristics that are different from anything you have experienced before. The first characteristic is speed, prepared speed. The kind of speed that happens when years of positioning suddenly converge into weeks of visible movement. The second characteristic is recognition, not public fame, internal recognition. You are going to begin recognizing yourself. The version of you that you glimpsed in childhood, the version that knew things before being taught, that version is going to resurface. Not as a memory, as a lived reality. The third characteristic is provision, but not provision the way you have been imagining it. You have been imagining provision as rescue, but the provision I have prepared is not rescue, it is partnership. I am not giving you a lifeline. I am giving you a kingdom assignment that carries its own resources. The provision is embedded in the assignment. When you step into the assignment, the provision activates, not before. Because the provision was never meant to fund your comfort. It was meant to fund your calling. I cancelled everything that would have satisfied you at the comfort level, because you were designed for the calling level. If that word about provision just shifted something in your understanding, type the words calling level in the comments. Because the distinction between comfort provision and calling provision is the reason so many chosen ones have been confused about the delay, I want to take you through something now. A practice that will help your body release what it has been holding. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Take one slow breath. Inhale through your nose. Let the air fill the bottom of your lungs first. Hold it gently. Then exhale through your mouth. Slowly, completely. Now I want you to place your attention on the center of your chest, not your thoughts. Your attention. Feel the space there, and notice if there is tightness, warmth, heaviness, or something you cannot name. That is where the rejection imprint has been living. That is where the flinch sits. Now I want you to imagine that the tightness in your chest is a fist, not your fist. The fist of every false conclusion your body drew from the cancellations. The fist of every time your nervous system said, "See, I told you it would not work out." And I want you to imagine that fist beginning to open. Not because you are forcing it, because the truth is dissolving the reason it was clenched. The truth is that every cancellation was love. The truth is that nothing was taken from you. It was redirected. And, as the truth lands, the fist opens, finger by finger, until the hand is flat. Until the chest is open. Until the receiver is no longer guarded. Stay there for a moment. Breathe. Let the openness sit. This is the posture that receives what God has prepared. Now let me address something that might be rising in you right now. A part of your mind is saying, "This sounds beautiful, but my situation is different. My pain is specific." I want to validate that feeling. Your story is unique. That is true. But the mechanism that kept you stuck is not unique. It is universal. The stories are different. The machinery underneath is identical. And what removes the machinery does not need to know your story. It needs to reach the mechanism. And here is the direct answer to why previous promises felt empty. The reason is not that God did not intend to fulfill them. It is because the receiver through which fulfillment was supposed to land was operating at partial capacity. The promise was released. The provision was placed in motion, but the version of you that was supposed to catch it could not catch it at full depth, because the neurological apparatus of reception had been gradually diminished. This is the fourth thing I need to name. I call it the diminished receiver. The diminished receiver is not a spiritual condition. It is a physiological reality. When the two hemispheres of the brain lose their synchronization, which happens gradually through the pressures of modern living, the result is not just cognitive fog. The result is a narrowing of the channel through which a person can receive insight, clarity, direction, and divine communication. The rejection imprint lives in the body. It is a somatic pattern, a physical encoding of an expectation of loss. And the mechanism that dissolves it is not more prayer. It is the restoration of the instrument prayer was designed to flow through. The glass between you and the experience is not spiritual. The glass is neurological, and the glass has an address. Let me close the loop that has been open since earlier in this message. What you have learned until now is true, but without what comes next, it will work at a fraction of its capacity. Because the knowing alone does not restore the receiver. There is a mechanism that does, and it is what that team of neuroscientists spent 20 years building. Here is what you now know that you did not know when this message began. You know that the cancellations were not punishment, they were divine protection. You know that the silence was not absence, it was concentration. You know that the rejection imprint formed in your body as a misinterpretation of God taking protective action. And you know that the guarded receiver, the neurological narrowing of the reception channel, is the mechanism that keeps the promise from landing at its intended depth. That is who you have been. That is not who you are required to stay. In 1981, something was proven in a laboratory that most people sitting in spiritual communities have never been told about. A neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for demonstrating that the human brain operates through two distinct hemispheres, left and right, and that those hemispheres are designed to function in synchronization. When both hemispheres operate together, the result is what researchers now call whole brain activation, creativity, intuition, analytical clarity, emotional regulation, and deep reception all function simultaneously. Research revealed that 98% of children under the age of 5 operate at the level of creative genius. Their hemispheres are naturally synchronized. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 maintain that synchronization. The result is what most adults live with every single day: fog, scattered thinking, emotional flatness, the inability to feel what they know is true. That is not aging. That is not laziness. That is a neurological reality that has a specific address. A woman from California described the rejection imprint in physical terms: a tightening in her chest every time something good began approaching, her body bracing for removal before the blessing could land. After 10 days, the brace was gone. She described receiving the largest blessing of her adult life without flinching for the first time, not because the blessing was smaller, because the receiver stopped bracing. A man from Texas described years of cancellations so consistent that he had stopped praying for specific things. He said the rejection imprint had become his default posture in prayer. 2 weeks after beginning the synchronization work, something changed in his body that he had not consciously tried to change. He prayed for something specific, and his chest did not brace. He described it as the first time in years that he received without immediately expecting loss. That is because of what the team Dr. Daniel Barone leads spent years building. Dr. Barone is a neurologist in New York City. His team took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive compression and refinement process, they turned it into an 8-minute